So you wanna go to war with me? You're talking like you think you're royalty. You think that I'm afraid, but I don't break. I heard you question my stability. You think I'll fall just like a guillotine, but I am here to stay. Won't look away. The storm is coming, so you better start running. No, you can't control, feel it in my bones. I'm coming for the, coming for the.
All right, guys, welcome back. Mic check 1, 2. All right, looks like we have audio. Let me know if you're here in the chat. Good afternoon, Tuesday, February 13th, and the indexes are well in the red. Dow Jones down 740 points, almost 2%. S&P also down almost 2%. NASDAQ down 2.25%. Russell 2K down 4%. Apple meets Cinema. Good afternoon to you, Matt. Thank you for checking in. Let's see what other headlines we have here, and then we'll look at some stocks. And I'm going to, well, I'll leave the chat as it is for now. I was gonna change the chat to slow it down so I could get some research done on Robinhood, but we'll leave the chat as it is. I may not answer all the chats. So I want to bring up Robinhood and read through it before earnings today. If you weren't here this morning, earnings whispers. The earnings we're looking at after the market closes today: Airbnb, Upstart, Robinhood, Lyft, MGM, and Zillow and Instacart. And I wanted to dig through some Robinhood news and see what we think is going to happen. Let me know your thoughts, what you think is going to happen. Also, yesterday, that one play that was running, what is it, BMR? Beamer ran up from $2 to $35, about 800% run on BMR yesterday, on news that they were doing a joint development project with NVIDIA. They announced, surprise, a new equity offering, dilution to raise an additional $12 million. And we talk about this a lot, what I call the CEO handbook. You may have seen the video. If you want to laugh, go watch my CEO handbook video. Very, very common, almost predictable outcome when these companies have these run-ups on news, that they dilute if they need cash. And I saw people on Twitter like, I don't understand why BMR is falling. NYSE, why are you halting it on the way up? And why aren't you doing anything about the price going down? Well, heads up, guys. They announced a dilution to raise money. That's why the price is going down at $7 a share. So anyways, that'll be on February 15th. I think they close that offering. Anya, good afternoon. She says, check out BGLC. I think I have that one on my daily runners. Yeah, Anya, it's right here. BGLC up 300% today and holding on to a good portion of the gains. Went from 40 cents yesterday to $3.39 in midday. Anya, unfortunately, I was outside working this afternoon, so I'm just catching back up with you guys. What was the news with BGLC? I had not a great afternoon out there, Anya. my wheelbarrow, which I've had for many years. A week ago, I went to. I'm bringing up BGLC, by the way. A week ago, I went to air up the tires because they had gone flat over the winter, and that was fine for day one of work last week. Today, when I went to go finish moving the compost around into the dirt, the tires were flat again. And so at that point, I realized the tires were just old and cracked. So I spent 2 hours moving dirt today in a flat-wheeled wheelbarrow, and that's no fun. But I did order some new wheels, and they'll be here tomorrow. But at any rate, the bulk of that hard work is done. BGLC News. Was there any yesterday? I don't even see why it ran. Free float 6 million. Shares outstanding 17. Why is the stock up today? Let's see if they give us an answer. Possible it has to do, it says, with speculative trades. You think? No new press releases or filings. It's a mystery. All right. Take your profits. Be careful. Meme stock, land, AMC's down 1.5%. GameStop's down 4%. Palantir's down 4%. SPY down 2%. Well, that sucks. Let's look at Robinhood real quick. Anya, Farmer Tony. Dan says, Mamma mia, I just realized I have a gold badge. Yeah, you are at the peak of badgeness, Dan. Congratulations. That signifies 12 months or more that you've been with me, and I appreciate you. Let's look up Hood, and let's look at, since I didn't have time to do it, the garden project today lasted much longer than the 1 hour I anticipated. I found another problem too. When you build raised beds and you're planning a couple of them, 2, 3, 4, whatever, and you're going to have a walking aisle in between them, just a little note, measure your wheelbarrow when you're deciding how far apart to put your raised beds. That I did not do, friends, and I'm paying the price because I can only bring the wheelbarrow up to the edge of the raised bed. I can't get it between them. So that's doubling my work because then I got to shovel out the wheelbarrow. I can't wheel it into the raised bed. Little things you don't think about. I built those a couple years ago, but at the time that I built them, I could get up to the edge to fill them up with dirt because I didn't have a chicken fence around the garden. Now I have one way into the walking path, and I can't get my damn wheelbarrow in there. I guess another alternative would be buy a skinnier wheelbarrow. Anya, yes, it is. I can tell my body, it's a little achy from all the work, but I love it. It's good to be out moving around. All right, Robinhood. So they have a let's call it, over the last 8 or so quarters, a fairly decent ramp up on revenue, although it flattened out last quarter. Operating income, not so bueno. I see nothing but negative since September of 2021. Oh, well, I mean, 20 million positive 2 quarters ago, but a lot of not good stuff there on the operating income. Net income, same thing. Same thing, but worse. Shares outstanding. It looks like they haven't been really diluting. And earnings per share, negative. Free cash flow, all over the map. Mostly a negative operating margin, negative profit margin. So it'll be interesting to see on the income side what they post up this quarter. We'll get to some guesses here in a minute. I'm just trying to get a lay of the land because I haven't looked at Robinhood's numbers. Cash is pretty decent, so they have just over 8 billion, and I don't see any like major red flags here. Yeah, they've burned off a couple $1 billion over the last 2 years, but 8 billion is still pretty healthy. Let's look at payables versus, well, let's look at total current assets versus total current liabilities. 25 billion in current assets, 19 billion in current liabilities, so that's good. Remember, we want to see current assets higher than current liabilities, so we know that at a high level their working capital is in good shape. Receivables is just under 4 billion, and we don't see a problem of escalating receivables, and we don't really see a problem of escalating accounts payable either. So balance sheet looks okay. Long-term debt, none. And they have a positive shareholders' equity. Cash flow. Larry says, how do you keep ants out of raised gardens? It can be challenging, Larry. And when I was shoveling out the rest of the compost to move it, there was a fire ant colony had made their home in there. So I got bit a few times. And I'm sure some of them got transferred into the garden. But we'll see if they make a home in there, and I'll deal with it at that point. I've never had an issue. Knock on wood. Haven't had an issue yet with ants in the garden. All right. Cash flow. We have operating cash flow bouncing up and down, above and below zero. Investing cash flow. What are they spending it on? Not a lot of capital expenditures. They had 90 million in acquisitions last quarter. I don't know what that is off the top of my head. Not a lot of money being spent here. And financing cash flow, it looks like they did a share repurchase, $608 million. And I think I saw that on the, here you can see the drop in shares outstanding on the income statement. I'm assuming that $600 million went to buy back 10 million shares. Net cash flow last quarter was negative $1.6 billion. But other than that one quarter and one way back here a little bit over a year ago, it's mostly been positive net cash flow. PE ratio, current -12, price to sales 5.78, price to book 1.56, price to free cash flow ratio 27, quick ratio 0.63, current ratio 1.31. The main issue they have here is the PE ratio due to the negative earnings. Analysts have it as a hold with a price target of $12.64. Average, we're at $11.65 right now on Robinhood. I usually look and see if we're, when you get analyst forecasts, you want to, sometimes we see like on Mullen, the last analyst forecast was 2 years ago, and you see people, oh, this guy has a price target for Mullen of $600. Yeah, because that was 2 years ago, split adjusted. It ain't going to no $600. The guy dropped off the map. He put his marker out there and never came back. So we want to make sure we're looking at fresh analyst forecasts. And we have 3 of them in January, $14, $12, and $15. That would be a 12-month forecast. Earnings per share. How many analysts do we have? 11. They are forecasting. Interesting. Average earnings for 2024, 3 pennies. Average earnings for 2025, 6 pennies. And average earnings for 2026, 36. Not really looking like a major step up until 2026. All right. I'm going to go back to the stock chart for a second while I pull up some other filings on Robinhood. And read some of your comments. Anya says, food grade diatomaceous earth for the ants. That is a good idea, Anya. I've heard that works. I haven't tried it because I haven't had a problem yet, but definitely have seen people talking about that in the different communities. Probably the same thing, Larry. Yeah, the diatomaceous earth. Laura says, is it time to go all in on AMC? There's a couple things I'm watching for, Laura, to answer that question. Is AMC going to go up or down? Obviously, we're seeing today the market risk. When I talk about market risk, when the market gets bad news, everything is going to fall. And I know there are people out there telling you, if the market would just burn down, if everything would fail, AMC and GameStop are bound to soar. I'm not a believer in that. If the market crashes, everything's going down with it, especially non-profitable companies. So that's market risk. What bad economic news, what bad news is going on in the market that takes everything down? That's one thing we got to worry about that could bring AMC lower. We have other things that I'm worried about, and we'll talk about the positives in a second. But I always think about both for any stock. But since you asked about AMC, we need to see the debt covenant extension news. The debt covenant waiver that AMC has from their lenders expires at the end of March. AMC's in default of the debt covenant, so they could technically foreclose on the company and bankrupt it. But they've given the company 12 waivers over the past decade. And we expect there'll be another one. I expect it before earnings on the 28th, but we need to get that out of the way. We need to see a debt covenant extension. and Adam usually announces it on the earnings day, the day before the earnings day, or several weeks before earnings. So we must see that. We don't want to be carrying this risk on our shoulders that the lenders say, nope, sorry, not this year. You're in default and we're just done with you. I don't expect that to be a likely outcome, right? They've given us 12 prior. It's almost for me a certainty, but it's still a concern. So when you're thinking about loading the boat, that's one thing to be thinking about. And then that's probably it. I mean, I think the bad Q4 earnings, the bad Q4 box office is probably baked in this range, 380 to 450. So those are the two things that I'd like to see cleared up: market risk and the debt covenant extension. But I have been buying in this range. My least expensive and biggest share purchase was at $4.20. All right, Robinhood. I'm just looking at random filings here to see what's up. I got a bunch of Form 144s, report of proposed sale of securities from company officers. Oh, man. Let's see if this is something bad or if it's just PSUs and RSUs. It looks to me like they're selling. It is a 10b5-1, so it's a... Oh, wait, this is... No, that was in December. So I'm looking at this here, and there's a bunch of them. So Daniel Gallagher, officer of the company, he is selling 12,500 units for $1.36 million. And he sold some in... These were granted to him on February 1st, and he's turning around and selling them. And he previously sold in December 12,500 units. Let's see what else we got. Each one of these forms is a sale by somebody. Vlad, 250,000 units. That he acquired in 2013. And so on and so on. So if this is true, and I'm reading it correctly, it's not a super bullish sign to me that all these guys are dumping. Let's see what this recent 8K is. This was from January 31st. Held NMS stocks and options order routing public report. All right, I don't care about that. Let's look at Robinhood investor relations. So they did. Yeah, it looks like around monthly for the most part. They're issuing reports on their operating data. The most recent one was December 13th for their November operating data. And what I'm seeing here is that user growth is flat from November 2023 back to November 2022. That's not great. That's not what you want to see. But it's better than losing users. Assets under custody increased by $20 billion. Trading volume on equities was up, on options was up, and on crypto was down. This was in November. So yeah, I mean, I guess we're kind of left to guess how December and January look because there's no reports, and we'll find out. I guess we'll find out how December looked when we get the results after the market closes. Do they have any guidance in here at all? Nope. So if they have user growth, if they have revenue growth, let me go back to the income statement. On an annual basis, we need to see annual income over 1.4, probably 1.3.5 billion. And quarterly, we need to see something over. I'd prefer to see it over last quarter, but they're going to compare it to a year ago, which was 380 million. I think they'll surpass that. And why did they book a loss last quarter? Let me just check that real quick. SG&A went up. That was the primary reason. Or they had a really low SG&A in June. I don't know. It's a tough call. I'm going to say I'd be surprised if they turn a profit. If they do, it'll be a small one for Q4. And for the year, it's going to be a loss. Without a doubt. Then if all that's baked in, then it's going to come down to what their guidance is for next year. What a walk down from $40, $11.69. All right, I see y'all still talking about diatomaceous earth. Apparently there's a difference between food grade and swimming pool grade diatomaceous earth. I did not know that. I got to make a trip this afternoon to the gardening center and I can check out in my little storage out there and see if I have any seed planters left, but I definitely need to get some new potting soil. And I think I have a decent amount of seeds, but I don't know if I have everything I want. So I need to get that done today too. Get these seedlings started indoors. I have another little pet project that I'd like to do, but I don't know if I'll do it this year, and that is to build a greenhouse, a homemade greenhouse, just to be able to have herbs and stuff throughout the winter months. So that'll be something fun to look forward to. Now, other things, as I was relaxing and drinking some water after my work, I saw that there might be some news out on Mullens. Let's check on that real quick. Now, I don't own any Mullen, but I do try and keep up with it because what a story. What a fiasco. It looks like in pre-market they reported earnings. So let's see what we got here. I see a headline that says earnings per share negative $15. Holy fuck. Mullen burned through $66 million of their cash. Mullen unveils business update and Q4 results. I'm going to go to their investor relations. And how bad is Mullen doing today? Down almost 10%. So if they burned through 66 million cash, where were they? Where were they? Oops. They had 155 million. And they burned through 66 of that, so not quite half. And their operating income last quarter was negative 182 million. Let's see what it was. Let's just go to the SEC. This program, or not program, but website, Stock Analysis, they do a good summary of all of these things, but once the company updates, like today's quarterly earnings, it'll be a day or two before it's on this website. So on the day of, I'll usually go to the SEC and pull up, it's not even a freaking 10Q filed yet. It's just an 8K. Come on, man. It's just a press release with a business update. Come on, man. Where's your damn where's your 10K? Sons of bitches. Gonna be late again on a filing. Let's see what we got, though. The company delivered a total of 35 vehicles for the 12 months, ending September 30th. Ouch. What else we got here? They regained compliance with the NASDAQ minimum bid. That's good for the moment. They achieved important milestones, including receiving CARB, EPA, and NHTSA certification for Class 1 and Class 3 vehicles, and IRS approval as a qualified manufacturer. If you're a Mullen investor, you already know this stuff, but I'm just rereading some of the highlights of the past few months' news, past few weeks even, for some of these. Making the IRS approval makes them eligible for the federal EV tax credit. They also submitted a pre-application for a federal program, a loan to support their battery manufacturing. That we knew about. That happened a couple weeks ago. They bought a new facility in Fullerton, California, in November of 2023 to begin battery module and pack development. I haven't seen any updates on that really. I'm not scouring the internet for Mullen news every single day, but I did know about that. Here's the problem I have with this. As of January 31st, Mullen has invoiced Randy Marion Automotive, that's their dealer, for $17 million for the Class 1 and Class 3 and campus EVs. Invoiced $17 million means, hey, we're sending you this invoice. When you sell the cars, please pay us. And so this is not income yet. And people will make this mistake if you're not paying attention. They're not actually sales until the dealer sells them. Bollinger Motors for their Class 4 and Class 6 vehicles has received orders for 40 B4s for $6 million. That's good. And they plan to begin the deliveries in the second half of the year. If they can make it that long, right? I mean, they just burned through half their cash. They burned through $66 million. They've got 80 left. $90 left. So then the obvious question is, how are they going to survive 2, 3, 4 quarters? And then the obvious answer to that, right? I need a button on my soundboard that says dilution. Dilution is the answer. They're going to fight. They're going to fight to survive. And I think that shareholders will probably bear the brunt of the pain. I think Mullen is so sketchy financially right now that they're likely, my guess, having trouble finding lenders to give them a good deal on any loans. They did get $50 million loan that I think was due in 90 days with a substantial interest payment. And my thought on that was that's like a bridge loan to buy you one more quarter of life. For the 3 months ending December 31st, net loss $63 million. Change in cash $66 million. Drawdown in cash. David Mishery. You want to talk about an overpaid CEO? Stock-based compensation for the 3 months, $14 million. Unfreaking believable, this guy. That's for 1 quarter. Now, I don't know that all went to him, but I suspect that the bulk of that went to him. Turning to our balance sheet, what do they say? We had $47 million and $58 million of working capital in December and September, respectively. So $47 million of working capital. Well, what? I'm just thinking they had $47 million in working capital. When did that $50 million loan come in? I wonder if that $50 million helped them show a positive working capital for December. I can't remember if they got that in December or January. We had total cash of $88 million versus $155 million in September. The company expects to close on a $32 million loan, okay, in February, giving them some usable capital for vehicle production. They don't have a lot of debt, which is the one saving grace, but they're just so freaking cash poor. Anyways, I don't know why they just did a press release and not a formal 10Q. I'd like to read through 100 pages. But that's your Mullen update for the day. And the stock is down, rightly so, down 10% on this news. Do I think Polestar is a buy at this point? Nate, I need to do a Polestar update video for you. I have my reservations about Polestar. I love their vehicles. I've been to the dealer here in Austin and seen them firsthand. I like the CEO. But who is it? Volvo that was backing them? Volvo just decided to pull the plug and get the hell out of Polestar Town. Let me bring up my EV spreadsheet. I need to do some updates to this because it's been a month or two. But with Volvo pulling out, that leaves, potentially Geely, the Chinese company, holding the bag for funding any shortfalls that Polestar might have, or the investors. So I need to go see if we have Q4 numbers on them yet. I haven't looked at Polestar in a month or two. There we go. Polestar delivered 12,800 vehicles during Q4, bringing its 2023 deliveries to 54,600. So we can update this. 12,800. They had wanted to deliver about 60,000, and they came in at 54,617. So we have coming up in June the Polestar 3, as long as that is still the plan. And I need to check on the Polestar 4. Let's just check their website real quick. Because all of these companies are so iffy financially, I'm not watching any of them daily. I'm kind of in a wait and see attitude with them. Come on, man. Polestar 3 2024. I don't see anything about the Polestar 4 on here. So yeah, I need to do an update on them. Let's see what the stock's doing. It's getting crushed. So I understand what you're saying. At $1.59 or $1.60, is this a safe time to buy? I just don't know. I need to see management guidance, what their expectations are for 2024, if they've provided it. And I need to spend a few hours reading through more than just a headline that Volvo pulled out and what the plan is there after that. For me right now, not knowing the answers to that, it's still a little bit risky, maybe a lot a bit risky. And I would love any and all of these companies to succeed, but they all are burning cash. Tesla is the only one that is making profits. So that's the one I'm buying. Negative net income. Anya dropping us some news here. Hertz has halted a plan to buy up to 45,000 battery powered automobiles from Polestar. That sucks. Yeah, and I've seen, I didn't know it was Polestar, Anya, but I've seen that these rental companies are having second thoughts about outfitting their fleets with electric vehicles. On the one hand, it gives you lower maintenance, but on the other hand, you're often renting them to people who are not familiar with using an electric vehicle. They don't know how to charge it. They don't know how to properly plan their routes. And then the vehicles are getting stranded because these people don't know how to use them. And that I don't know if that has something to do with it, but I have seen stories about that. So that, again, is part of the DD that we need to do. Why are these rental companies pulling out? Why did they nix Polestar? Do I think Bitcoin will hit $1 million? Gunner asks. People are saying there's going to be a one world currency because it's in the Bible. Do I dare touch this one, guys? Do I dare? I think, there's definitely going to be cryptocurrency in our future. I think that at some point, not as soon as the conspiracy theorists say, because they've been saying it was imminent for the last 2 years. Remember, Lou? They're going to let AMC run as soon as they get the CBDC out next week so that they can pay you in crypto and they can control all your money. Yeah, that didn't happen. There will be a CBDC. I don't think it's anywhere as close to ready as people think. And that's for me following the committee meetings and the congressional testimony and questions and testimony from the folks that are on the committee to implement it. I think they definitely want it to happen. I'm not exactly thrilled about it, but I don't think it's imminent. Like next week, next month, this year. And as far as Bitcoin going to 1 million, let's focus on 100,000 first. How about that? There is a lot of speculative money to be made on smaller coins, but I still think that, for my money, if I was going to be focusing on one, even though the growth is going to be slower, for the moment, Bitcoin's still the front runner favorite for me. If you're trying to park some money in crypto for the long term, I'm not saying buy it at 49,000. I'm just saying that the odds of one surviving right now, Bitcoin's still the front runner for me. Plenty of people are making tons of money on smaller coins, but those, I think, have to be in and out plays. And we'll talk more about that. Maybe my views will change as we start this weekly crypto discussion night, and I'll bring on some other experts and we'll have some talks, and maybe I'll learn something. Maybe you guys can teach me something. Maybe we can share some opinions and views. I'm certainly not married to any of my viewpoints. I'm perfectly willing always to change. I'm just telling you how I'm feeling right about now. Eight minutes to the market close. SPY is still getting crushed. The Dow Jones coming back up a little bit, down 608 points. Not much other news. All right, let's look at some other questions. Maximus, what's up? Dan, hello, governor. What's up, Dan? When will the Walmart split happen? That is a good question. We were just talking about that the other day, and I already forgot. But I like Walmart even ahead of a split because it is a growing and profitable company. So let's see. When is the split? February 26th, 3 for 1. Let's see what Keith has to say at the Motley Fool. He says, let me say right off the bat, it's probably not a great idea to buy Walmart just because of the upcoming split. But that I agree with. As we've talked about many, many times, a split or a reverse split changes nothing. But investor sentiment can change. On a forward split like this, the shares can be perceived as cheaper, so more people might be willing to take a plunge on it. He goes on to say that, yes, stock splits sometimes cause a stock to jump. However, such gains are usually temporary, and that has been the case with Walmart in the past. They have conducted 9 stock splits, the most recent in 1999. That's not very recent, Keith. Is your name Keith? Yeah, Keith. They conducted a 2-for-1 split. Shares rose moderately after the split, and all the gains evaporated within a couple weeks. So really what we want to do is see if we're looking at Walmart, have they been experiencing some unusual run-up in February? They've been running since, what happened here? A dividend 57 cents on December 7th. Earnings was in November. Let me take a quick look at their earnings. But they're on a nice run. They're at a 52-week all-time high. Next earnings is going to be on February 20th, and we said that that split is on the 26th. Oh, man. Wow. A lot of what happens with the price is going to be more dependent on what happens on the 20th than the 26th. Beautiful. Beautiful revenue chart. Nothing but up. Nothing but net. This is you want to have a portfolio full of charts where the revenue looks like that. I get it. It's boring. It's slow. Only made 15% this year, but it's safe. You're not going to lose money unless the entire market collapses. Net income, that when we get into net income, now we need to do a little more digging, right? It's the past 3 years, 4 years, it's been all over the damn map. So even though that looks good up here, if you're buying Walmart, you need to understand why it's mostly been going down with the exception of a couple spikes. Shares outstanding, they have been, you can see here, clearly doing share buybacks. Balance sheet's fine. They do have a bit of a working capital issue, but they generate so much cash, it's probably not of concern. And they spend a lot on capital expenditures, don't they? $5 billion. Jim says theft is becoming a huge issue. Yep. Nutter Butter, what's going on? Is today just a hiccup or the beginning of the market crash we've been anticipating? It's always hard to say on one day's worth of evaluating the news, Mr. Nutter. 1 minute to market close. But yeah, I mean, when we see the SPY running up to 500, it feels to me like we're, as I said to you guys recently and to other folks in the Discord almost every day, the higher something goes, the more nervous I get about a pullback. And the economic conditions overall are not screaming the entire market's ready to run. I'm still leaning more towards we have some market risk ahead of us. Will it be the crash? I don't know. Do I have a line drawn on SPY? I'll probably need to update it. Here's my, on the weekly, this is my trend line on the SPY. And we've been above it since 2020. We touched back on the line. If we were to get a pullback all the way to here, and we are able to bounce off of that like we did back in this time frame, August, September 2022, I'd be bullish on the SPY if we're able to hold by some long-term calls on it. But it seems like we're getting a little frothy. All right, now we are closed on the market. I'm going to populate our watch list with the companies that we're looking at. Get rid of some of these. Let's just do it this way. Airbnb. Upstart. Hood. Lyft. MGM. And let's add Zillow and Instacart in there. Those will kind of give us a couple insights into how the general economy is doing. Ticker AKAM tops estimates as its cloud business grows. Still down 7% in aftermarket. What happened here? Posted 471 million in revenue in the quarter, up 18%, but below the street consensus of 475. Ouch. That's just a small miss. The cloud computing business exceeded earnings estimates or revenue estimates. And it looks like they gave guidance for the upcoming quarter with a midpoint a little bit less than what analysts wanted to hear, which is probably why it's down in after hours. All about that guidance. All right, what else we got? Airbnb, waiting still. Robinhood. Still waiting, I presume. MGM. No news on earnings yet. Upstart is halted. What happened? Someone just said a minute ago Robinhood earnings are out. Revenue beat, EPS beat. All right, I'll pull that up. Trying to see why Upstart is halted. Someone said Upstart, it's either going to be $50 or $15. All right, it's halted on news pending. Let's see what's up with Robinhood. Robinhood beats 471 million fourth quarter revenue versus estimates of 457. Earnings per share. I'm just reading some tweets. 3 pennies versus estimates of -1. So clearly they beat their revenue from a year ago. And compared to last quarter, 471. Last quarter they were at 467. So that's good. They managed to get that increase over last quarter, and they got positive earnings, allegedly. I'm waiting to see the official numbers. I don't know if that's adjusted or GAAP earnings. Ludwig says, Tony, do you think a crash could mean something good for AMC? I'm not a believer in a market crash being good for any stock, Ludwig. I know people say that. I don't get it. If the market crashes, what's going to happen? Big money is going to flee equities and go into something safer. Bonds, gold, whatever. And what are they going to flee first? They're going to flee companies that are losing money. They're going to flee everything. But I don't get that whole story of we want a market crash to send our stock up. That's the one thing we need. Never been one of my talking points. What AMC needs is a higher box office. That's really that simple. Higher box office and a full year of positive earnings. Not 1 quarter, not 2 quarters, 4. I'll take 1 negative quarter if the other 3 can add up to a positive year. Robinhood up to $13 in after hours. I don't know where these guys are getting the news from. Let me check their investor relations one more time. I don't see a press release. Oh, here it is. Robinhood reports fourth quarter results. All right. $2023 record revenues of $1.9 billion, up 37% year over year. So what they say, let's $1.9 billion compared to 1.3 for 2022 and 1.8 for 2021. That's pretty solid. Q4 GAAP net income of 30 million and net income 30 million. Handily beating any quarter in the last 2 years. Total net revenues increased 24% year over year to $471 million due to higher net interest, transaction-based, and other revenues. Where's the gap numbers? Net income, yeah, 3 pennies for the quarter. Gap, pretty solid. All right, give me 1 second. Let me go grab that package off the front door. Okay, so we know the deal on Robinhood. Do we have any news on Lyft yet? Doesn't look like it. Wait, there must be news on Lyft because it's up 24%. Holy schmeckles. Lyft profit beats estimates as cost cuts kick in. Must have been a hell of a beat. Lyft beats estimates for fourth quarter and said it would generate positive free cash flow for the first time in 2024 as the ride-sharing platform reaps the benefits of cost cuts. Jiminy Cricket. Under new CEO David Risher, the company implemented an aggressive restructuring plan last year, including layoffs and elimination of management in pursuit of profitability. That's an admirable strategy. Cut the fat. As we continue to drive up or scale the company and keep costs flat, we are going to drop more money to the bottom line, according to CEO Risher. So let's see how they're doing back if we walk it back a couple years. If you've been holding Lyft since 2021, you're still well underwater, $68 down to $12. But might be worth, giving them a look now if they're going to be able to turn a profit. I haven't been a big fan of Uber and Lyft. Good Lord, if you were holding it since the IPO, $88 down to $12. That's what happens when you lose money. But if they're turning a corner, might now be worth a look. Might be. Zillow managed to crank out a beat on earnings despite a slower housing market, and they are up almost 4% in after hours, down from $212 back in 2021 at $52 right now. But if you've been buying on these dips. That is some good news. Hang on 1 second. One more time. Hang on. Sorry. Get my mic plugged up, my headset plugged up again. Anya says the Waltons are the second richest family in the world. I had a chance to go visit their museum up in the Ozarks a couple years ago. Anya, it's pretty impressive. I was visiting my nephews, who I guess it's been more than a few years now because they graduated some time ago. They have jobs, married, and one of them is actually, my brother texted me last night. I'm going to have a new nephew or niece. I think niece. I might even have one as we speak. He texted me last night. He was going to the hospital for his son, my nephew. His wife was having a baby, so they graduated from U of A in Fayetteville, and we went up to visit them one year in college, and went to the Walmart Museum, or the Walton Family Museum, which is pretty cool. Never seen it before. Larry says layoffs are not always cutting fat if skilled people are dumped. I get where you're coming from, Larry. I've worked in the corporate life for a while, but I think some of these companies like Uber and Lyft, where money came to them very easy, it was easy for them to overhire, and they felt like they could grow into it, but they've been struggling growing into it and growing into profits. And whether it was fat or just like, look, we're going to cut people, and those of you that are lucky enough to remain here are just going to have to suck it up and work harder. Sometimes it's one, sometimes it's the other. That is the difference between survival or not, profits or not. And, all of the layoffs, I worked at one company for 15 years. I think we had 2 or 3 business cycles where we had to cut because the company knew that the next quarter was not going to be good, and you need to cut those numbers. Sometimes we had fat, most of the time we didn't. And you got to do what you got to do to survive. As a manager, I always had to have my bottom 10% list. Sometimes we'd do a fire drill, and sometimes all the execs would get in a room, and we'd all share the names on our bottom 10% list. And other managers the way where I worked, other managers could say, well, I know Tony wants to fire that guy, but I really like that guy. Or everyone would say, yeah, that guy's useless. So if you're going about it that way, like if there's some discussion and everybody agrees the person you're cutting is useless, even if everyone has to work harder, if the guy was useless and overpaid, is it really that bad? Later, when things get better in 3 or 6 months, 9 months, you can get a rehire approval. David says, is there fat to cut at AMC? That is a good question, David. I don't know. I don't know enough about their corporate structure. If they're operating leanly at the corporate level or not. I'm not talking about salaries of the execs. I'm talking about layers of management. And my observation, at least at the company that I worked at, it wasn't the factory workers that were typically getting laid off. It was layers of management. And if you were a middle manager or a director, the target was often on your back. All right, so we got Zillow up. Let's see what I was going to read here. Zillow jumps on earnings. The company beat expectations in a slower housing market. Fourth quarter earnings of $474 million, a 9% gain compared with the same quarter a year ago, on a net loss of $73 million. That was better than the company's guidance, where they had told analysts they expected to make between 430 to 455. Analysts were expecting 452. They came in at 474 million. Analysts were expecting a loss of 77 million, and they only lost 73. Let's see how bad it is over there at Zillow Group. Pretty much nothing but losses over their history, and their revenue has been flat more or less since 2021. Yeah, probably not a company I'm interested in at this point. So let's move on. Let's see how Hood's doing. Still moving up. Lyft is the one just killing it today. People liking that news that they're going to have free cash flow. I bet there's one company you could think of out there that you wish, like we were saying this morning, that they'd issue a press release saying no equity raises in 2024. How about a year like in 2025 where they say, we think we're going to positive cash flow this entire year? I bet you could think of one company that'd be nice to hear from. I don't think it'll be 2024 that we get that second announcement, but let's see if we got Instacart news. Ticker CART, right? I didn't know that they were called Maple Bear Inc. Did I get the right ticker? Yeah, Instacart Inc. Parentheses Maple Bear Inc. I wonder what the backstory is on that. Instacart announces fourth quarter and full year 2023 results. Doesn't say if it was a beat or not. Anyways, the stock is down 4%, so probably not what people were wanting to hear. Marriott is trading flat. MGM is down 3%. Let's see what they had to say. What's going up? What's going on in Vegas? And where else do they have their big casino overseas? Macau is what I was trying to think of. I think that they have facilities over there. Consolidated net revenues of $4.4 billion, an increase of 22% compared to the prior year quarter, due primarily to increase in revenue at MGM China due to the removal of COVID entry restrictions in Macau. Operating income was $419 million compared to operating loss of $2 million in the prior year quarter. Diluted earnings per share of 92 cents compared to 69 cents a year ago. And yet they're down. So what's the story here? I don't know. Nothing jumping out of this press release. They have had a pretty healthy run up. It may just be a post earnings sell off. $34 up to 47.5. Gunner says, is Hood going to $100? It don't look like it. But hey, 15% run up in one day. That's pretty nice. Probably get some analyst updates in the next day or so on Robinhood. And yeah, I mean, if they're forecasting a profitable year, a cash flow positive year, could definitely be. No, that was Lyft that forecasts that, right? Robinhood's performance in 2024 is going to depend on the stock market's performance in 2024. Are we going to crash? Are people going to stop trading? Or are we going to limp along? So harder for me to say on Robinhood what to tell you. The highest analyst estimate out there is $23. The average consensus is just under $13. And we'll see, based on the earnings today and the call that's going on right now, if we get any analyst updates on them. All right, so I do want to listen to some of these calls. I want to keep on working on Palantir so I can get one video out for today besides these live streams. I'll probably listen to the Hood call after we get off the live stream. Maybe do an update on them. I want to listen to the Lyft call. They're now up 54%. Lyft. It's just not stopping. Holy shit. Good day to have Lyft calls, guys. If you were rocking that gamble, you're getting paid big time right now. So we're gonna call it here. I'll see if you guys have one or two last questions, and if not, I'm going to work on a video or two for you. And I'll be in the Discord if I'm not listening to a conference call. Broke Apes asking, how did HE do for earnings? Did Hawaii Electric have their earnings today, Broke Ape? They did. All right, let's see. Let me pull it up. Full year net income of $199 million. Diluted earnings per share of $1.81. That includes a $14 million after-tax related expense due to the wildfire and $11 million after-tax loss from ASB's fourth quarter balance sheet repositioning. I don't know what that is. Core business continues to perform well. Utility continuing to progress. Resilience work in West Maui. I was watching some videos in the past week of they're just now getting started clearing lots in what was it called? Lahaina. I mean, everything. How many months has that been now? There were like 4. I saw a flyover. There were like 4 damn lots getting cleared. You got 1,000 houses burned down. They got 4 crews working out there. What the hell is going on in Hawaii? But yeah, those of us that are watching HE, as we were talking about either this morning or yesterday, it has been beaten down due to the lawsuit risk. And some people are playing it for snagging a position and selling covered calls on it, and then just hoping they don't get rug pulled with a bankruptcy from that court case. $40 range, currently trading at 13 cents, the lawsuit. And we don't know the outcome, so that's the speculative part of this play. You're either going to go to zero if they go bankrupt, or maybe not all the way to zero, but you're going to get rug pulled, or you're going to, if they get some positive outcome from the court, that's a hell of a bounce back up. But who knows how long that lawsuit's going to take. So one to look at if you're a gambler, and depending on how you feel that lawsuit could turn out. So, yeah, it looks like, as I'm reading through this press release, overall, the company's doing fine. The thing that's hanging over it is the lawsuit risk. Let's see if they talk about that at all here. They don't, but that might be another good earnings call to listen in on if the recording is up. Larry, my vehicle, if you're asking about my vehicle, still plugging along. I went to see a movie about a week ago on the other side of town, and as I was driving back home, it threw the belt. I think a pulley seized up, because when I got it to the shop the next day, there was I think the idle pulley was gone. And not unexpected on an older vehicle or a high mileage vehicle. And so I did have a pretty expensive repair, replacing 2 pulleys and the belt. I was thinking the belt broke on the highway, but I was about a half mile from my exit. So I took my exit and I coasted in with, as the temperature's rising on the engine, You're like in a plane with all the beepers going off. My core temperature of the engine was rising. I had no oil pressure. I had no power steering. I managed to coast it into a parking lot of a liquor store right off the highway. And I left it there overnight. And I said, I'll come back and see if I can fix it in the morning. I opened the hood up and I saw that the belt had broken. But once I came back in the morning and saw that the pulleys were gone, I was like, I'm just going to, I cranked it up. I turned it on. And my mechanic that I go to was literally a 5-minute drive. I just had to U-turn under the highway and drive half a mile. And that's where my neighborhood mechanic shop is. So I drove it over there, and they had me up and running by the end of the day. Other than that, all good. And now I need to do an oil change on it. Let's see how the meme stocks are doing before we close up for the night. This live stream anyways. AMC's flat after hours. GameStop's flat. Both of them down on the day. Palantir is up in after hours, down 4% on the day. And the SPY hanging out at 494. Keep an eye on Lyft. That'll be a fun one to watch in after hours. Now up 62%. LYFT. Would you just look at it?
Look at this. Oh, look at this. First thing I do is I say, would you look at this? Oh, would you look at this? Would you look at that? Oh my gosh, just look at it. Just look at it. What the heck is that? Oh, would you look at that? Just look at that. I mean, just get a look at that. Would you look at this? You know what I mean? Oh, look at this. Look at that. You got to look at it this way, okay? You just got to look at it. That's all you can do anymore. Just look at it.
Just frickin' look at it. Man, I wish I would have had some calls on Lyft. We got distracted thinking about Robinhood, and we completely missed spending a hot minute thinking about Lyft. All right, guys. Thank you so much. I will see you in the morning for market open. If anything exciting happens in between now and 7, I'm still going to be here working. If anything exciting happens with any other stocks that we care about, we can do a live stream later tonight, but good golly, Miss Molly. If you had calls on Lyft, congratulations. Upstart now down 20%, John's touchpad says. Oh man, they got smoked, didn't they? Since we didn't look at the results on that one, let's see how bad it is. Revenue was $140 million, a decrease of 4% from a year ago, but up 4% from the prior quarter, last quarter. Uh, 129,000 loans were originated for $1.3 billion, down 19% from the same quarter a year ago. Loss from operations was $47 million, an improvement from a year ago where they lost $58 million. And net income was negative $42 million, a slight improvement from the same quarter a year ago. Upstart's telling us that they expect revenue of $125 million for the next quarter. That's why it's getting beaten down. They just finished 140, and they're guiding for revenue of 125 this coming quarter. All right. Well, I don't want to dwell on poor Upstart. I'm just going to have fun watching Lyft and dream of some of my stocks having a day like that. Thank you, guys. We will see you mañana en la mañana. And folks in the Discord, I'll be around. I'm going to be here working. Have a good evening. Stay safe. And have a drink on me. Top shelf, please. Send the bill.